Welcome to episode 63 of Enter the Mind podcast, the most real talk, no nonsense podcast on the empowering of the mind. Make sure you watch to the end to hear the power question of the day, which we will share based on today's discussion. Today's topic is going to be fear of social inclusion or exclusion. And before we get to that, Kyra, how's it going this week?
Going well. I'm definitely in a lot better place than I have been in the past couple of months, as you all know. So yeah, I'm feeling good. I got this new sweater from Sheen or Shine or whatever it is, and it's so cute. So I love it. How are you doing?
Awesome. Yeah,
Good.
the swings, it seems like you're on an upswing, which is awesome. I am good, enjoying my peanut butter straight from the jar right now. So I will go ahead and mute myself while you introduce today's topic and tell us what made you think of it.
Okay. Well, I was sitting yesterday and I couldn't think of a topic, and it was my turn. So I'd asked my mom, and she gave me the idea of talking about being included and not being included. So I turned it into the fear of being included and the fear of being excluded. I feel like it's quite a serious topic, considering, there are so many people that you kind of come across sometimes that, they just don't include you. I remember this one time I was at Coachella, and I had left my German friends. They were amazing, but I just needed to be on my own wave. So I had left them, and I found myself at Rufus Du Sol stage. And there were these like 2 or 3 boys. They seemed kind of cool sitting down next to me. I said, "Hey, what's up?" They were just kind of like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm just here, keeping my energy up." I'm like, "I'm here, just hanging out." They're like, "Cool. Well, our friends are coming in a little bit. You can hang out with all of us." So their friends came, and there was like 3 girls and 3 boys, and I was excited because some girls were there. So I tried to talk to them. These people did not give me the time of day. I literally just slowly scooted out of their group because I clearly wasn't included. And it's not like it hurt my feelings, but it's definitely still something that like is in my head today. I'm like, wow, like people are so fucking mean sometimes. Like, I'm a super cool girl. Why are you not including me? So that's a good example of, inclusion and exclusion. And I'm not going to ramble on anymore, but what has come to your mind so far?
Yeah, I think it's kind of ingrained in us as human beings through evolution to feel extraordinary amounts of pain when we are not included in the group. And that served as a huge advantage to our ancestors in evolutionary history. Because if someone was excluded from the group and didn't really care, and they were like, "Cool, I'm gonna go off on my own, I'm gonna go do me." Caveman's like, "All right, I'm gonna go do me. Screw you guys." And he goes off in the forest and tries to survive on his own. Well, good luck with that. His genetics will end in that generation because he's not going to have offspring. Now, whereas everybody else who is like, "Yay, please like me, please include me in the group," they will get into relationships, they will produce offspring, and they will pass on those genetics. And so it's almost part of us, but it's such an, I don't know if I want to say an illusion. It's something that we kind of need to be aware of as a metric. Like, we should be aware of like, okay, wow, this is a big trigger right now. I'm not being included in the group. This is a huge trigger. There's a reason why I feel this intense emotion right now. But at the same time, to kind of muscle past it or push past it, because it's kind of, I don't know how to explain. Do you understand what I'm saying though?
I understand what you were saying in the beginning. I'm not too sure about what you're saying now about pushing through.
Oh, okay. So like in your example, right? At the
Mhm.
festival, you go up to those people and they're like not very friendly and inclusive. So what's your protocol as sort of a self-help mind coach? What's the right response to really monitor your own mind when you're in a situation like that?
Um, Honestly, I think that the best thing to do if you're clearly not being included and people are being mean is to just kind of scoot away. They're not going to notice you, that's for sure. And you can just kind of scoot off and happily go back into your own energy, which is exactly what I did. I kind of scooted off and I listened to Rufus Du Sol. I'm like, okay, well, I can do it with people or I can do it alone, and I'm fine with either. And I think that that's really important when you're going in for the win, to try to be included in something. And most of the time, when you're not being included in something, chances are it's just because it's not the right place for you. And something that you said made me zing, because what if, so you said that the caveman is going to go off into the forest and he's good luck with that. You're not going to reproduce, your genetics are going to die off. And I thought that that was really interesting because we all know that we can't do anything alone. You're going for a big goal and you need these other people. You need to connect and be included in the right group so that way you can reproduce. So that way your sort of genetics, quote unquote, can go on. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Can you say just a bit more so I can formulate a thought?
Yes. So pretty much, a lot of people like to be alone. That's great. A lot of people are introverts because, they've seen the way that people are, and fuck, man. People can be so fucking annoying. But, if you introvert yourself too much and you really stay in that cage too much, you will literally never go anywhere. You get your money from other people, you get your ideas from other people, you get energy surges from other people, you can help make your dreams come true with other people. You need other people in order to reproduce, which comes back to natural law. And the how a woman and a man have to get together. There has to be two in order for a woman to have a baby. Even if she's getting, the sperm injected in her, there has to be two in order for that baby to come out, which means that there has to be more than one person for any dream, anything to materialize in the world.
Yeah, you just brought this to a whole cosmic level.
No, right?
I think I'm glad you mentioned introversion because there's a moment at that conference in Vegas where, during like the networking breakfast, nobody knew each other. And, I walk in and it's early. So there's only one person in the entire banquet hall. He's sitting by himself. So I sit down, I say, can I join you? And he goes, yeah. And we exchange, names and kind of, I say, so what do you do? Where are you from? And right. And we're just chatting. And then, as more people come into the room later on and they're looking for seats, I'm constantly scanning, and then somebody walks up to the table and I can tell that they want to sit, and they're like, is this seat available? I said, yeah, sit down, welcome, what's your name? Okay, cool. So-and-so, this is so-and-so, he does this, right? What do you do? Right. And I'm connecting everybody. And later on, I was talking with that original first person that was at the table, and I said, man, I'm such an introvert, I don't know about you, but I'm just like, this is completely different, speed that I'm used to or something. And he's like, really? He's like, but you were connecting people so well, you were introducing, you were welcoming them to the table. And I said, that's because communication is a skill, not a personality tendency. Introversion is a personality tendency, right? But communication skills are skills, and there's a big difference. What do you think?
I really, really, really adore that. I really love that. And I think that it's completely true, especially since I met this guy at a bar not too long ago. He was an introvert and he straight up told me, and but he was just such a great communicator. We were chatting it up, and he's my friend on Instagram now, and he's hiking mountains over in Mexico, super cool. So he may have been an introvert, but he knew how to communicate, and that's why we became friends, which is really great. And I love that because when you're at a conference and like you don't know anybody, it's so nice for somebody to look up and say, hey, come sit with us, like, what's up, and I think that there's also a fear of being included, because it's almost like, when that saying where it's like, sit with a table of winners and the conversation will be different. So it's like, say you're used to sitting with this normal group of people, right? And then these super amazing winners invite you over to their table and you're like, oh my God, am I being included in this right now? And your heart maybe starts racing faster, but hopefully you go and take a seat because they include you in it. But there's still that fear of being included because you're with that whole new group of people and you're like, oh my God, so now I'm included in this. How do I act? What do I do? And all these fears come up. But then there's also the fear of exclusion, as to where maybe you do really want to sit with the winners and you're a little bit scared if they include you, and you're a little bit scared if they don't include you.
The deeper lesson here, again, we come back to the mind, this being Enter the Mind podcast. And how do we deal with fears? Because they're going to come up on a daily basis. One such trigger is going to be social inclusion or exclusion. And that's the result of millions of years of evolution. But how do we deal with that? Because, in present day, that's our experience. That's how the mind works. It's going to have all these alarms go off of, oh, wow, is the group going to include me or not? Is the group going to exclude me or not? And I think that, at least for me, my tool that I use to cope with that stuff is right here, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that is the most advanced and the most recent and can kind of mitigate or almost overrule the emotions. And it's when that thinking brain is shut off, such as when you're sleeping, that your emotional brain can fully take over. And that's why we have dreams, or at least I do sometimes. I'll have dreams where there is social exclusion or inclusion going on, and I'm all nervous and I'm like, I'm not part of the group. I don't like this and blah, blah, blah. But in the dream world, I'm sort of helpless because my rational brain is asleep. It's not functioning. But when I wake up in the morning and it comes back online, that's when I feel like, all right, I can deal with anything that the world throws at me because I've got my thinking mind fully turned on.
It's very interesting. And I feel like there was a lot of sort of topics to touch on there. And I want to talk about the fear that you were talking about and pushing forward through it. And then I also kind of want to form that into dreams, and we can have kind of a little commingle here. So have you ever had a reoccurring dream that's not entirely enjoyable? And it's like each time you have that dream, you come just a little bit more conscious inside that dream. Like maybe like you stop making the same mistakes that you did in the dream that you had the same week. I'll give an example. So I was traumatized by a man that I dated, and I have dreams about him every couple of months. And within like the 12 or 15 dreams that I've had of him in the past 3 years, each time I have the dream, I become more conscious in the dream. And I notice that because I become a little bit more awake in the dream, and I say, wait a minute, why is this guy in my dream? He's hitting on me, and I'm like, each time I become a little bit more who I am in real life. And I think that your waking life, along with your dreams, if you can go inside and like, I hope that I'm trying to make this make sense. If you can go inside of your dreams in the nighttime, and maybe you have the dream about being excluded and included, and you sort of remember the way that you acted in the dream, like maybe you were hurt, or maybe you were like I'm not included, but then you said you wake up and you have your real thinking cap on, and you're like, care really if I'm included or not, but you still have that subconscious thing in the back of your mind that's in your dreams, that in your dreams you are acting as somebody that you are not in waking life, which means that it's still in your subconscious. So I think that in order to rewire the brain to not be so taken back by inclusion, as we talked about in former episodes about trying to fit in with a tribe that isn't yours, so you're, in order to try and be more at ease with being included with the winner's circle, or maybe excluded with the winner's circle, or excluded from somebody that you want to be with, or included with somebody that you want to be with, I think that the ultimate key is to really just vision and continue visioning and understand that pit and that feeling, and that it's okay to have a desire to want to be included. It is a human nature to want to be included. And the more that you accept that within inside of you, and the more that you allow that to really sink into your subconscious, the chances are you're going to have a dream where you were the one in charge, and you're completely cool with not being included. And then that'll show in your waking life as well, because you felt it already in your dream. You've been through it already in your dream, and before it came into the dream, it's because you were visioning it and you really had a strong desire to be okay with it.
Wow, what an intense example. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
I'm sure a lot of people can relate, and kind of what you were saying at the end there reminded me of this book I'm reading called The Body Keeps the Score. It's about how your body stores the trauma, not just your mind. And I think it's fascinating. I see you're nodding.
Yeah, it's so true. And I was literally just reading yesterday, because I'm getting my certified in neuro-linguistic programming, and I was listening to this guy talk, and it all started fucking making sense to me. Your mind, it's great. It's a great fucking tool, but we have to understand that our mind can only go so far when it's straight up stored in our body, which is why you can, somebody from your past can come back into your life, and if they are not fully released from your body, but they're released from your mind, it doesn't matter. It's gonna trigger in your body. I feel like the body is the fucking key. Like, we need to start working with the body more, almost before the mind. Like, it's on to something. What do you feel?
That's so true. And that's Tony Robbins' principle of physiology first, which is why he, before going on stage, he jumps on a mini trampoline behind stage, right? And so at first, I mean, one of my big regrets of when I went there to the Tony Robbins seminar, I was so skeptical, and I was thinking probably what most people would think, oh, it's just gimmicks, and what's this guy, he's just pumping up the audience to sell his stuff, blah, blah, blah. That sort of BS thinking, which is small thinking, right? Hence, a person's journey in self-help. And thankfully, that's years ago that I kind of had those thought patterns. But the truth is that, no, Tony Robbins does know what he's talking about. And even yesterday, I was feeling slow and sluggish, at work. And I was like, just not feeling it here at the office. And I got up and I did like 20 squats and 10 lunges in my office. And I got the physical system running again. So people have to remember, just like you said, it's really an integration of mind and body.
Completely agreed. And I absolutely love that you thought to get up and do a couple squats, because seriously, it's like so minor and maybe sounds a little stupid, but it works. Like it really freaking works. And what's it called? I wanted to say about the so another thing that came up yesterday that coincides with what you just said about the physiology first, and getting the physical body moving and pumping and in flow again. He said something in the NLP course certification, and he said, you've memorized emotions. And so your body has these habitual emotions from what it takes in from your maybe prefrontal cortex. Am I correct that it goes in from here and then sends signals? So when you're trying to feel included, and maybe you have so much experience with people not including you, chances are your body, it's going to go in through your prefrontal cortex, aka legitimately neuroplasticity, and you're going to remember that experience, and your body is habitually going to feel a specific way. And guess what? The people that you're trying to include yourself with are going to feel that. You have to memorize a new feeling, a new emotion about being included with people, and it's not going to happen overnight. It happens over time, and you just have to learn and not beat yourself up about being included. There are times in my life when I was younger and I wasn't really sure of myself yet. I was never friends with the cool kids because I just always thought they thought I was too weird and everything, and like they were going to make fun of me. So I guess growing up, I thought that maybe I didn't belong with the winner's circle, that I didn't belong in a wealthy circle, wealthy in all areas. And the more that I grew up, the more that I started to memorize a new feeling. And every time that I would try to go up to the winner's circle and maybe I didn't feel comfortable, or they weren't, there, like they weren't including me, then, I would walk away, take note of what I did wrong and do it differently the next time. And now I have a new memorized feeling in my body where, I come up to the winner's circle and I feel like I'm supposed to be here. And I hope that made sense for all of our listeners about, memorizing a new feeling to memorize a new thought pattern in being included and excluded.
Yeah, I think these points are solid gold, and it's not exactly what we anticipated talking about today. We just started with this topic of social inclusion, exclusion, but I think we really extracted the deeper truth. Many deeper truths, one of which is this principle of, physiology first, and then the other one, which is that emotions are memorized, emotions are practiced, emotions are really motions, right? Emotions are these movements, these body patterns, and it's no different than when someone plays a sport and they have a certain technique, and whether it's tennis and just the way that they hit the ball, it's just maybe they learned wrong, and so they hit it with this strange, awkward motion that really cuts their power in half, and they need to go to a coach and kind of learn how to do a new motion. Maybe their backhands are weak, and they need to learn how to really incorporate this new core twisting, core strength to really deliver more power in their backhand hits. And it's obvious to everybody that if you practice, you can get better at that, and it's a matter of learning a new technique. But what's not so obvious is that when it comes to psychology and our emotions, it works the same way. And it's about emotional conditioning, mental and emotional strength and conditioning, I would call it. Just how you said when you go up to the winner's circle or kind of a peer group, high status peer group, or high status social group, that you have conditioned yourself to respond in a different way, to engage in a different emotional movement or pattern than you used to. And I think it's very empowering, and I think it's a very positive thing to think about, because you realize just how much pliability there is, like just how much you can really adjust things if you practice. What do you think?
I 100% agree. And I don't think that it's stressed enough in, our reality today, our society today, that we grew up learning how to ride a bike. We did not get it on the first try. We grew up learning how to color in the lines. And I don't know where the fuck it was programmed in us that we just stop learning after school, but we don't. We never stop learning, and chances are you're going to have to learn how to be included with the winner's circle. And that doesn't mean changing anything that you value inside of yourself. It's just about looking inside yourself and pulling out something that you desire within you to be seen by others. And I think that that's one of the biggest things with inclusion, is that people think that if they're not included, that they need to change. I don't know if all people think this. Leave a comment if you've ever felt like this. But if you, if you're not included, you seem to want to really, 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 really change who you are. And chances are, normally, that's not what you need to do. Like, I'm hoping that I'm explaining this right, because if you're just growing up into the highest self of you, then you are going to be growing out of your old ways anyways. So it's not like you really need to completely change who you are to be included. You just need to grow into who you are to be included. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think maybe if you focus on the growth, and the social acceptance will take care of itself naturally. I don't know if that's what you were saying, but
I think that it's definitely, yes. I think that that's a big part of what I was saying. Just grow. Just grow.
Right on. With that said, let's do final thoughts, looking at the time and the power question. So my power question that I would offer today would be related to this practice. So what emotion do you want to practice? Because that is a very different angle of looking at things. People probably think of emotions as, well, I hope that such and such an event happens today so that I feel a certain way. And so it's based on this presupposition that our emotions are caused by the events outside of us, and we don't have control over those events. But a new perspective that I'd like to put forth in today's podcast is that emotions are just like movements in sports or dance or anything of that sort, where you want to practice the movements over and over and train yourself. And so the question is, what emotions do you want to practice today? What emotions are you going to practice today? And that would be my my overall conclusion for today's podcast. What about you? What are your thoughts?
I like that. I think that's a great little goal and a great little power question for today. I mean, emotions are just energy in motion. That's why we call them emotions. So, as they're traveling through our bodies, as this energy is traveling through our bodies, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's who we are. It's just energy. Come in, just let it go through, and then practice your new emotion. And today I'm actually focus. It's funny, I woke up with a goal to focus on the emotion of just feeling calm throughout my entire day. And that's what I'm focusing on today. And that was my sort of emotion that I'm working on today. So yeah, I think that this was a great episode. And my final thoughts will be, if you're not included in the group that you're wanting to be included in, just grow yourself. Either that group will come back or another group will come to you, and it's actually the group that you are looking for. And about being excluded, chances are if somebody's excluding you and being rude, you're so much better than them. Literally so much fucking better than them. I've been excluded so many fucking times. I'm sure that you have. Is it because you're a piece of shit? No, it's because you're fucking amazing. Thank you.
Nice. Speaking to the hearts of everyone out there listening. Awesome. Well, I think that's all we've got for episode 63. So thank you all for watching. We appreciate your viewership and any engagement comments that you've got to offer. If you're on YouTube, if you're listening on a podcast platform, then go ahead and leave a positive review for us so that we can grow this thing and come back even stronger next week in episode 64. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.